Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mama Wears Athleisure. I am your host, Mariela de Santiago, a first-time mom. We focus on all things mom with tips to help make life easier and more organized for all you mamas out there. Hi, everyone. I am here with Sherry, and today we're going to talk a little bit about how friendships change during that pregnancy time and ways to kind of help out with that change and connect with other people.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sherry Kalish. I'm a local marriage and family therapist here in San Diego, and I'm a mama to a little toddler myself, too. I work mainly with women who are struggling with infertility, those who are also trying to get pregnant, currently postpartum, and also pregnant. I also work with couples, and I love to help them, especially during this time where there's so many life transitions that come with pregnancy and postpartum, and helping them figure that phase of life out because that can be such a challenging time.
Definitely big changes, right? And they come fast. Quick little note, if you hear my son, he is with me. So friendships tend to change when you're pregnant. Can you share a little bit about why that might be?
Yeah, of course. So, when finding out you're pregnant, a lot can change about you individually and what your needs are, especially when you are in your first trimester and your energy levels are kind of lowered a bit, right? Do you remember that time?
Oh, yes. And I also just remember, like, if you're one of the first ones to be pregnant out of your friends, it totally changes because you're in a different place. So you
hmm
can't, you don't want to go out for me, I didn't want to go out past like 6 p.m. There's a lot that you just don't want to do.
And it can be really hard when maybe some of your friends aren't exactly there yet in the pregnancy phase or have toddlers themselves. So, it might be that time where you might have to set some boundaries with yourself so you can do what you want to do and not feel pressured by yourself to kind of go out with your friends when maybe you aren't feeling up to going out later at night, when your energy levels are not the same as they used to be maybe a couple months ago. But those changes are real. And I think that's something that it might be important to even talk to your friends about, and being open about those changes and how they do affect your everyday life right now. And it's temporary, but being open about that time period can be healing with your friends and having them kind of understand where you're at. So, if you are at that place where you've told your friends that you are pregnant and expecting, that could be a helpful conversation to have with them.
Very good point. I never thought of that. Like when you share that news, to be able to let them know how you want to either be included or not feel excluded by simple things as, hey, extend an invite. And if I say no, and I might say no many times, please don't just stop inviting me. Like give me that option. Some moms might not want that. So it's very individualized. It's kind of whatever works for you.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone is different. So it's also being real with your comfort levels on that, being open if that's something you want to do, or if you do want to be more private. But I think it's great to be nice to yourself and allow you to have those boundaries in whatever way that is serving you.
What can mamas do to keep their friendships? If they want to continue with the friends that they have, like what can they do to make sure that they don't kind of drift or aren't hanging out as much, and then suddenly you just become an acquaintance and you're no longer really friends?
Yeah, I think, this is something that a lot of people go through, right? Where friendships change. And I think something to talk about is actually accepting that sometimes friendships do change and fade. And that is okay. And I think sometimes we all have this expectation we must keep all friends and we can't let any of those friendships fade. And that can be really detrimental to our mental health by having this expectation that might not be attainable right now. And that's okay. And being able to say, this friendship maybe isn't as bright in my life right now, and that is okay. And maybe other friendships are serving you in a better way right now. So it's good to pay attention to that. And a good way to pay attention to that could even be by journaling and really getting in touch with yourself to see how you're really feeling with some friendships. And if you're feeling that it's feeling natural right now in your life to continue with those friendships, or are you trying too hard to be this person you're not really feeling you are right now? Because that can definitely change, especially in a time like pregnancy and postpartum, where priorities shift and your mental load is very different than how it was before. And I think being around people that uplift you and are really helping you feel your best self is really important to tune into. And journaling can be a really great way to connect with yourself, to discover where those friendships are.
That is a good point. Yeah, I can definitely see how putting like your thoughts down can help you reflect on what works for you and what doesn't, or what may need to change.
And those friendships that you are very much valued for yourself, like your diehard friendships, right? I think it's also, if you do have those friendships that you must maintain, it's great being proactive about making sure you reach out ahead of time saying, hey, maybe this week on Wednesday or Saturday is like a day I'm going to be free or have the energy based on even your schedule of what you had that day, right? Because sometimes planning around what your schedule looks like and making sure you're planning in a way that's going to suit you and not overloading yourself, and knowing that, okay, on Wednesday or Saturday, maybe I have that energy because I don't have too much things planned that day, and being able to plan around that to support yourself and to be able to have the energy to hang out with your friends, make time to catch up and stay connected.
I feel like you kind of already answered my next question, which was, what are some ways mamas can feel supported by friends? But I feel like you kind of already answered that with just kind of planning in advance and finding the time if this is a friendship that you want to continue with and you want to really put the time in and want it to flourish, and ways to connect or to just find a few minutes to even catch up, whether it's over the phone, Zoom call, whatever it may be.
Exactly. Yeah. And it doesn't always have to be in person. So I think that's great that you mentioned that, because sometimes we also have this expectation it must be in person and we have to go to a bar or we have to go to this big hike or something, when maybe we don't have the energy level for that. Being able to say, hey, let's do a FaceTime or a phone call, or having something like that as in place of a hangout when you don't feel that you can be up and about if that's not where you're at right now.
Yeah. And especially if you are working and you're pregnant, like you're even more tired because you're putting a lot of energy at work. And then it's hard to find the time during the weekday to hang out. So then you're very limited on when you can do that, which is on your day off. So yeah, it's that kind of balancing act and trying to find that time. So if it's not in person, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I still also wanted to touch on a little bit for that question. I think it's also great being real with your friends and being able to be open and honest about your unique needs during this time of pregnancy, and maybe being able to mention to them how you can have support from them in ways that would be good for you. So that could be, unique times in pregnancy where you want that extra motivation or support during days that are harder for you, when maybe you do have to work and go into work, and that could be really hard, and having encouraging texts where you know that your friends are going to support you on some days, and having some friends even take turns with supporting you could be a great way to have that support, especially during hard times where you just need that extra boost.
Well, and that would really be beneficial to kind of start developing that support system while you're pregnant, because once you're in that postpartum stage and you're with that baby, those first initial couple of months, it is really nice to have a support system so that you know who you can ask for help and how they're willing to help. How can a mama find connections during this time if maybe the current friendships that they have might be changing or starting to fade? And if you are kind of one of the first ones in your group, how can you find other people that are either in a similar stage or have already gone through that?
Yeah, I think this is a great question and so needed, because I think connection really helps uplift you during this time, and finding those that have that common stage of life. And there's so many great resources, especially right now with technology. There's this great app called Peanut. You've probably heard of it.
I made a few friends on that. So yes, I went on Peanut.
Yeah. And that's how I made a few friends too myself when I was postpartum, and trying to find people who had a baby in that similar age where we can have play dates and form some connection. But I think it would have been even better if I went on that app before I had my baby, because you can definitely do that also while you're pregnant, and kind of find someone who's maybe in the same trimester as you, and be able to go through it together and relate on what's kind of going for you on during that time. Because I think having that, especially in the first trimester when you aren't so open and telling everyone just yet about your exciting news, it can feel very lonely going through all the symptoms you're feeling and not being able to really share to the amount you feel comfortable just yet. So having that support, through someone in the Peanut app and finding that connection there can be a great start. Being able to find those connections that are serving you. And I also think it's great also to join a local support group. There are so many local support groups, I think, all across the US and the world. Even online support groups can be great during this time to be able to relate with the struggles of each trimester and postpartum, especially, and because sometimes when you are postpartum, you feel like you don't know what you're doing, right? And you just get handed this baby after you deliver, and you're like, okay, take it home. And there's no rule book, and you kind of have to figure it out on your own. And having that external support from friends and family is great. But I think having that extra support of people who are kind of going through it in the same time in an organized support group can be really healing during such a life transition.
Yeah, you make a good point in that with being able to find local support groups. And I think that a lot of those can even be just like local mom groups that you can find on online or through Instagram, like the local mom groups that we have here, the local meetups that, it's just other moms wanting to meet other moms with their kids, or even moms that are expecting and don't have any kids yet. I've met a lot of people through those and it's been great.
Yeah, there's so many great groups here, especially in San Diego. I know Carlsbad Mom Walk, San Diego Mom Walk. Those are great ways to just go on walks and meet friends. And I think that's amazing to have that. And people who are before having baby or postpartum, it's great to have those friendships and start building those connections and talk about everything related to motherhood.
So actually, I host the Carlsbad Mom Walks. Little shout out there. In case you are in the San Diego area, North County, and you want to join.
Yes. I think that's great that you host that. And
it's so nice because, I didn't have mom friends in the area. I was new to the area. So it has really allowed me to find that group and connect with other moms and then just chat about what we're going through with baby or ourselves. And you learn so much just from talking.
I'm in the same boat because I moved to San Diego just a couple of years ago. When I had my baby, I had to really start making those connections to help me feel not alone, because I didn't have friends in this area before. I had, some friends I made over the few years I've been here, but it's been such a big help being able to go to, for example, even stroller strides. That's what I started doing. And that's where I made some really great connections that turned into really great friendships and support me today, even though maybe I'm not at stroller strides at this moment, but we still meet up all the time and do hangouts. And that's been great to have that.
Yeah. And they're just great at sharing everything that's going on to help moms just find a time where they can go and meet up with a group. Like, I know I share that on my Instagram. Like, even if I can't make it, doesn't mean that somebody else can't go. Like, I just love to be able to let moms know, here's what's available to you.
Exactly.
Great ways to find connections and to make other friends. This one might be a little bit tough, but what are some ways mamas can accept or deal with the changes?
I think just being able to acknowledge the changes and recognize that it's normal for friendships to change over time, and resisting or denying the changes can sometimes be hard on yourself, and being able to be okay with the changes and knowing that life flows and that is part of the flow with friendships changing, and being able to be also open-minded about that and new friendships and experiences, and being able to accept those experiences and knowing that new experiences is going to help you make new friends. That's also a great mindset to have. Just also, I think it's great focusing on the positives, being able to focus how the friendships you are having are uplifting, helping you, support you, and bringing joy in your life, and focusing and giving energy to those friendships rather than the friendships that are kind of dragging you down, that you don't feel that same energy from.
Yeah, I think that this is it's hard to realize that maybe like a friendship is ending because of the changes that you're going through. It's just really hard to be like, okay, yeah, that chapter is kind of closing, it's ending, and moving on to something different. And it's all because I'm growing my family or related to it. That might not be the only reason. So yeah, you got to kind of figure out a way to just say, it's okay. Like, this doesn't serve my purpose anymore. And now I have this other group of girlfriends that do serve my purpose and that can support me with the stage that I'm in, because we're all going through that stage together.
And I think, with those friendships that maybe are long time friendships that you feel that you really want to work on that, and you notice there is a shift, I think being open about your disappointments or hurt that you are feeling in those friendships can also be healing, and being open about what you're feeling and with that friendship, and make changes that are healthy to aid that friendship to be able to continue to grow.
As you grow your family or add a little one, you end up having different priorities. You end up having different hangout spots, like the park. Right. And it's a lot harder for somebody that maybe doesn't have a kid to want to come over and hang out at the park. It's really also a matter of hopefully finding a balance.
Yes, that balance is key. And sometimes right when you're starting, especially postpartum, that balance can be so hard to figure out, right? Where you're balancing your needs and your baby's needs, and also your needs to have connection.
Yeah. I mean, everything's changing, right? Right after you bring that little one home, you've got a whole new world. Like, you've got to figure out your schedule, their schedule. What does this baby want? You still want to continue to grow and flourish in your personal life with your significant other. So there's a lot to think about and handle.
Yes, 100%.
And sometimes even just a text or a check-in from a friend is all that you need of like a, hey, I'm thinking about you. Hey, let me know if I can come over and have coffee with you. Those type of things where it doesn't require so much from you as a new mom to figure out how to get ready and get this little human out the door.
Yes, yes, I totally connect with that. And I think, yeah, being honest about, hey, yeah, it would be helpful if maybe you stop by, and being able to accept that help, because sometimes we say, no, we can't accept any help, and being kind to yourself and accepting help and being able to advocate for what kind of help you do need from your friends.
Thank you for all of that. So my last and final question, do you have any tips, suggestions, or recommendations on anything when it comes to the changes in a friendship, how to keep those friendships if you do want to keep them, or how to just navigate new relationships, new friendships that you're starting to develop?
Yeah, I think all of that can feel like such a mind spinning time, right? When you're trying to figure out everything in the same time. But I think just taking things step by step and being able to focus on the needs first, and also the needs of those friendships, and when those needs are kind of priorities at some points, and being able to be real with yourselves about when that priority kind of shifts, where, okay, now I really need some girl time, and being able to go out and let yourself have that self-care and go out with your friends and let your husband or whoever take care of that baby, while you do get some time for yourself to rejuvenate and give that time to help yourself and focus on that as well, and making sure you do have that balance.
Very good points. I love the self-care piece, right? Just it's okay to leave the baby and get a little bit of time for yourself, even if it's just 10 minutes for a walk by yourself.
Yes, exactly. That counts. Sometimes we feel that even self-care has these expectations. We have to do this whole massage day, but no, I think just little bits of, yeah, going on the 10-minute walk or doing something for you, even if it can be just 10, 15 minutes, that is so great to just go out for a little bit to rejuvenate, especially when maybe you don't have that big time gap to be able to do something such as a massage day, which I think would be great as well, though.
Massage would be ideal, right? A
Yes.
whole spa day.
Yes. All day, every day, I wish, right?
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking time to chat with us and just talk about friendships and the importance of just finding those new connections if the current ones that you have don't serve you, or if there's the changes that you're making depending on what your stage is in life.
Yeah, and thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed talking about this. And I think it's great that you're doing this podcast and giving all these mamas some great resources about everything postpartum and pre-baby. So I think that's great that you're doing this. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening. Tune in next week for our next episode. You can find us on Instagram for more updates and tips. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts and give us a review if you like us.